Welcome to Next Gen Manufacturing. Right now, something huge is happening in the world of how we make things. It's a quiet revolution, and it's not about faster robots or fancy new materials. It's a total shift in the very philosophy of manufacturing itself. And it all kind of boils down to this one idea. What used to be a beautiful poetic thought is now becoming a hard and fast rule for industrial engineering. It's about taking on a whole new kind of responsibility, not just for the customer buying your stuff, but for future generations, people we're never even going to meet. And that really gets to the heart of this whole transformation. For more than 100 years, the goal was pretty straightforward: make a perfect product. But today, the goal is way, way more complicated. It's about creating a safe world, even when we're not totally sure what all the dangers are. To really get how massive this change is, we got to take a step back and look at the old way of thinking. For decades, the entire manufacturing world was built around one simple, powerful idea. And that motto was zero defect. The mission was crystal clear: build a perfect product for the person who's paying for it. The relationship was totally direct. If something was broken and you knew it was broken, you fixed it. Responsibility was all wrapped up in that simple exchange between the maker and the buyer. But yeah, that world, it's basically vanishing. We're moving into a completely new era, where the goal isn't just about a perfect product anymore. It's about protecting all of society. The new motto, it's zero risk. And what's so cool about this slide is how it just maps out this complete flip in mindset. Zero defect becomes zero risk. The focus blows up from just the client to all stakeholders, and that means everybody: employees, the public, the environment, the whole shebang. We're not just thinking about the product, but its entire life, from the minute it's designed to the day it's thrown away. And maybe the most important part, we've gone from fixing problems we know about to trying to get ahead of dangers we can't even be sure exist. So you're probably asking, what's driving all this? Well, it's a super powerful legal and ethical idea that's jumped out of philosophy books and right into corporate boardrooms. It's called the Precautionary Principle. And to really get it, we first have to talk about something we're all pretty familiar with: prevention. Prevention is just common sense, right? It's when you act against a danger you already know about. We can scientifically figure out both how bad the damage could be and how likely it is to actually happen. We've got the data, we've seen it before, so we act. Simple. But precaution. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Precaution is what you do when you're stepping into the unknown. It's all about taking action when you don't have scientific certainty. Maybe we know a new technology could cause some serious harm, but we have no clue what the odds are. Or maybe we see something happening, but we just can't predict how bad the fallout will be. That uncertainty, that's the key. And this just nails the difference perfectly. Crossing the street, that's prevention. We have tons of data on car accidents. We know the probability, we know the severity, so we look both ways. But mad cow disease back in the 90s, that was a textbook case for precaution. Scientists knew the potential harm was absolutely catastrophic, but they had no solid data on the probability of it jumping to humans. So facing that huge unknown, they acted with precaution and banned beef for a while. That's the principle in action. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. This is actually being written into law, and it's completely changing the rules of the game for every single company that makes, well, pretty much anything. The whole legal ground here is shifting under our feet. Those voluntary standards, the so-called rules of the art, judges are now using them as legal measuring sticks in court. And this is a big one. The burden of proof is being flipped on its head. It's no longer on us, the public, to prove something is dangerous. It's on the company to prove that it's safe. And get this, for 10 years, a full decade, after a product goes on sale, a company is legally required to keep up with the latest science. So if some new study comes out and shows a potential danger that nobody knew about at launch, they are still on the hook. A product's release isn't the finish line anymore. Nope, it's the starting gun for a decade-long safety watch. So how in the world do companies actually do this? I mean, it's a huge task. It requires a whole new way of thinking, an engineering discipline with its own name, Prageotik. So Precautionary is basically the how-to guide for applying precaution in the real world. The whole goal is to weave safety against unknown risks, right into the DNA of a product from the very first sketch. It's about proactively hunting for what might go wrong, instead of just reacting after it already has. And this idea translates into a very practical checklist for today's engineers. Companies need a formal, written policy on precaution. They have to be constantly scanning the horizon, watching science and the law. They have to analyze potential risks, even the ones that sound like science fiction. Every single design choice has to be justified. And finally, you need total traceability, a complete paper trail for every component and every decision, from start to finish. So if there's one key takeaway, it's this. Building precaution into what you do isn't just about following some new rule. It points to a much, much deeper change in how we think about progress itself. I mean, what we're talking about here is a cultural evolution. It's about finding a new balance between charging ahead and making sure we stay safe. It's totally redefining our relationship with innovation. It demands a new kind of foresight and, honestly, a little humility. At the end of the day, it's about rebuilding trust in a world where technology is changing at a dizzying pace. Which leaves all of us with a really critical question for the future of next-gen manufacturing. This new way of thinking gives us a process for dealing with uncertainty. But as innovation gets faster and faster, it raises an even bigger question for society. Who gets to decide? Who gets to decide what level of risk is acceptable? Not just for you or me, but for all of us.